Liz Truss, the UK's new Prime Minister and the third woman in history to hold the office, is promising to get straight to work. The country is headed for recession and the cost of living is soaring. But Ms Truss says addressing the economy, energy and healthcare are her top priorities. Max Foster walks us through the transition of power. Take a listen.
A final lap of honour for Boris Johnson. Flanked by applauding staff and civil servants, Johnson departed Downing Street as Prime Minister for the last time. As for what he'll do next...
I am now like one of those booster rockets that has fulfilled its function, and I will now be gently re-entering the atmosphere and splashing down invisibly in some remote and obscure corner of the Pacific.
A speech outlining his legacy. Brexit, the vaccine rollout, and support for Ukraine. Many in his party sad to see him go, ousted following months of scandal. Johnson made no mention of the events that ultimately led to his downfall. He concluded by throwing his considerable political heft behind his replacement.
It's time for politics to be over, folks. It's time for us all to get behind Liz Truss and her team and her programme and deliver for the people of this country.
Johnson and Truss then took separate planes for the 1,100-mile round trip to Scotland to visit the Queen. Johnson submitting his resignation and Truss being invited to form a new government. Meetings which are strictly private. For Britons looking on, support amidst a cost of living crisis is their top priority. Truss will be expected to lay out a new vision, and quickly. The leadership contest lasted 6 long weeks, during which the pound slumped to its lowest rate against the dollar since 1985. Returning to London, Truss stood where Johnson had stood hours before. Britain can ride out this storm, she said, as thunder cracked and lightning struck over London. Details of how will follow this week.
We shouldn't be daunted by the challenges we face. As strong as the storm may be, I know that the British people are stronger.
Max Foster, CNN, London.
Well, for more now, I'm joined by David Menser, Senior International Connector of Honest Reporting. He joins me in the studio now. Well, David, thank you so much for coming onto the show. Let's just start with the fact that I know that you've worked really closely with Boris Johnson before when he was Prime Minister. Do you think that Liz Truss is a really good option at the moment for Britain?
Well, she won a majority, of course, inside the Conservative Party. She got 81,000 votes, a little bit short of what people thought she would get compared to Rishi Sunak's 60,000 votes. Look, it's not for me to judge. I'm strictly apolitical these days in terms of Liz Truss. Mimicking Margaret Thatcher, she is coming across as very much in the same vein as a Conservative politician that prefers to have a low tax economy to keep the money in consumers' pockets rather than a large government type of politician. So, look, she is the government, she is the Prime Minister of the UK now. So, of course, we all wish her well. But what happens, she has lots of challenges in front of her, that's for sure.
Do you think she has the ability to deal with all of these challenges, though?
Look, inflation's at a 40-year high in the UK. There's a very, very weak pound. Energy prices absolutely skyrocketing. £500 a month for UK households, which is about 2,000 shekels or $600. They're talking about doing a cap on those energy prices. There's been 12 years of Conservative government now, so people have had enough. Sir Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, is very much having a double-digit lead now in the polls. So look, it's a tough gig. And of course, also, she's the 4th Prime Minister in the last 6 years. She makes... it makes Israel's government look strong and stable and consistent. So, and also Scotland demanding a referendum. These are huge challenges, plus a fairly divided Conservative Party as well. So she's got a tough agenda on her plate, that's for sure.
But also a deepening cost of living crisis brewing within her country, just on her doorstep, and she's been really vague about what she's going to do about that.
Well, this is the way of politicians these days. They very rarely on the campaign trail give any specifics because they don't want to have to deal with any specific questions or people poking holes in their agenda, especially the maths. So they tend not to be too specific. But she she has said that she will deal with this on day one. And already the Conservative government is briefing the media that there'll be a £2,500 cap on the price of energy, the energy cost, which is a large part of the cost of living crisis in the UK. But already today, 50,000 businesses threatened with going under, going bust because of that cost of living crisis, having to make a choice between keeping the heating on and paying staff costs. So it's a very difficult scenario which the Prime Minister is facing right now.
And also the major reshuffle of her cabinet that we saw when she succeeded Boris Johnson. It was a striking composition. What are your thoughts about that?
Look, two very striking things here. You're absolutely right. Number one, the four top officers of state, the Prime Minister, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, the Home Office, the Foreign Secretary, are not held by white men. That is the first time that it's happened in the UK. Two politicians of African origin, one politician of Asian origin, and of course Liz Truss herself being a woman. You know, very much reflecting the new nature of UK society. Of interest to the Jewish community as well, because we've got a very keen eye on these sorts of movements in society. So that I would say is a positive thing. But she did something also quite remarkable. She didn't exactly hold a peace branch, an olive branch to her detractors and Rishi Sunak's gang inside the Conservative Party. She cleared them out. Almost to a person, she cleared them out. She has brought on people in her own image, and you know that might work with her. It might work against her as well.
David, thank you so much for your time. David Mensah, the Senior International Connector of Honest Reporting, with me in studio.